1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. 1 Thessalonians 5:1. Now as to the times and the epochs, brethren, you have no need of anything to be written to you, for you yourselves know full well that the day of the Lord will come, just like a thief in the night. While they are saying peace and safety, then destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains upon a woman with child, and they will not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day would overtake you like a thief. For you are all sons of light and sons of day. We are not of night, nor of darkness. So then, let us not sleep as others do, and let us be alert and sober. For those who sleep do their sleeping at night, and those who get drunk at night. But since we are of the day, let us be sober, having put on the breastplate of faith and love, and as a helmet, the hope of salvation. For God has not destined us for wrath, but for obtaining salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us, so that whether we are awake or asleep, we will live together with him. Therefore, encourage one another and build up one another, just as you also are doing. Verse 6. Let us not sleep as others do, but let us be alert and sober. And we said last week, we referred to 1 Peter 5:8, your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. And Peter begins that statement with, so be of sober spirit and be alert. Same words, just reversed. Why? Because Jesus is trying to save us while Satan is trying to kill us. Okay, of course, this is doing this thing. So now I have to find the tiny button. We're going to talk about this word sober for a minute. The word sober, this word is used what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around 8 times. Not too many more, if at all. The word is juxtapositioned against drunkenness. Verse 6, let us not sleep as others do, but let us be on alert and sober. For those who sleep do their sleeping at night, those who get drunk at night, but since we are of the day, let us be sober, having put on the breastplate of faith and love and helmet of hope and salvation. Little and Scott, the intermediate Greek-English lexicon. This word is to drink no wine. Sekikubo, the Greek-English lexicon. On 1 Peter 4:7, same word. Abstain from wine. Gerhard Kikel. I might have messed that up, but... And the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, the usage is originally radical, as in radical from our perspective. A man is sober, they put the Greek word there, right, who is at the time completely unaffected by wine. Vines, to be free from the influence of intoxicants. Understand these last two. Completely unaffected and free from the influence. They're not saying, oh, they had a little, but they're able to maintain it. No, they're saying, no, they haven't had any. Drink no wine. Abstain from wine. The usage originally, yeah, that's radical. That's what we would think of, at least in this culture, as radical. It characterizes a soldier. But since we are of the day, let us be sober, having put on the breastplate of faith and love and the helmet of the hope of salvation. A soldier ready for battle. So here is the question. How much alcohol do soldiers drink when they're geared up for training? And we're not talking about training here, we're talking about actual battle. How much alcohol do soldiers drink when geared up for battle? The ones that win haven't had any. This word, turn over to 2 Timothy chapter 4. Verse 1, I solemnly charge you in the presence of God and Christ Jesus, who is the judge of the living and the dead, and by his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with great patience and instruction. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance with their own desires, and will turn away from their ears from the truth, and will turn aside to myths. But you, be sober in all things. Endure hardship, do the work of an evangelist. There's our word again. 1 Peter chapter 1. Talking about salvation, verses 10 through 12. The idea that we are privileged because even angels wanted to look into this, but they couldn't see it. Therefore, verse 13, prepare your minds for action, keep sober. Now, the NASB, the New American Standard, will add the word in spirit. It is not there. The word is keep sober. The NIV here, you reading out the NIV today? Anybody got the NIV today? Nobody's got the NIV today. Okay, the NIV adds the word keep sober fully. I like that. Be fully sober. But that actually takes away from the point of the word. The word is, by itself, be fully. The reason why the NIV adds it there is because the word could, so the word fully is in the text. The question is, does it go with keep fully sober, which would be somewhat redundant, or does it go with fix your hope fully on the Lord, the next statement, or if you're reading out of the King James Version, what is the King James Version? It adds the word fully to another place. I forget where it is. So 1 Peter 1:13. It might not use the word fully. It might use the word complete. It might use the word perfect or something. I forget what it is. The King James. Which version do you? Which version of the King James Version do you have? The 1911 or? No, really old. Yeah, go ahead, Gary. You.
This is the New King James. It says the fully is at the end. Rest your hope fully.
No, right. Very good. I'm sorry. The grace. Just go ahead and read it, and I'll tell you where it's the word end. Yeah, please.
Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end of the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ.
Right, hope to the end. Okay, so it's this one word. The NIV puts it here: be fully sober, which is wonderful. 1 Peter chapter 4. The end of verse 7. Yep, verse 7. The end of all things is near. Yes, we understand that. Therefore, be of sound judgment and sober. Again, the NIV will add spirit here. It's not there. The ESV will add the word mindedness there. It's not there. Although I wouldn't argue against that being there, either of them, but just beware that the word is sober. Be sober. 1 Peter chapter 5. Verse 8, be sober and alert. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. By the way, the word alert is our word Gregory. So, if anybody in here is named Gregory, and you're not being alert spiritually, then you're not living up to your namesake.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Then, in your New American Standard, why is it so many times that it's used, the writers would put after the term sober, the term spirit, but the spirit is a lowercase. What would their ideas do you have? Because it could be sober in spirit or sober in mind. We're dealing with that.
Or just sober.
Right.
Don't get that out of your mind, just sober.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is, like John's is, I say John's, he reads out of the ESV today. Yeah, sober-mindedness. That's the idea. You're sober in your mind. Yeah.
Even if the because there's,
What?
if you're not physically sober, if you're drunk, you're not the standard definition of sober, and you're certainly not sober-minded because you have no idea what you're thinking. But there's plenty of people who haven't had anything to drink and are nowhere near sober-minded. You know, just, oh man, you know, I don't drink for health reasons or whatever, but man, I'm going to party hard and live for today and all this kind of stuff, and who cares about consequences of anything. Sober-minded, you have to be actually sober-minded, and by definition, you have to be sober also.
Right. The idea is in the Word. The idea is in the Word. What Jonathan just said, we can repeat it, or we can say the idea is in the Word. We're sober. That's what we are. And remember, this word is to drink no wine, abstinence from it. Let me go on just a minute. And stop me anytime. I expect to monologue, but I don't want to, but I anticipated it for a minute or two. Here's this guy, listen to his argument. Now he comes to the same word. This word, sober, can be used to condemn all kinds of excess. It can be used of the avoidance of alcoholic intoxication, but it seems to be used metaphorically here, for there is no indication that the Thessalonians were addicted to drunkenness and thus in need of exhortation to sobriety in the literal sense. That's a pathetic argument.
It really is.
Now, he's actually making two different arguments here about two different topics, but the one about the metaphor is pathetic at best. Is that what you said? Pathetic at best. Now, let's just camp out on the metaphor for a minute. Go ahead.
Where does he get the idea, keep pouring in the idea of excess?
Okay, that's a different... Okay, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, because you're right, but so there's the metaphor and then there's the excess, and those are two different things, okay? So, the argument for the metaphor, hogwash. All right. Maybe we'll come back to it, because we're going to cycle through both of these just for a minute. So, Gary is now bringing up excess, so now we're actually talking about something different than metaphor. Go ahead.
When you define the word, there's no indication of excess of any kind. It's abstain.
Right.
So where does he get excess? It'd be like me commenting on whatever.
They all do. They all. Obviously, those are two. That's a very absolute statement. But the general idea is, where do they get the idea from excess? Of excess. I'm not going to comment on it, only because I think I know where it is. I don't know for sure. Watch. Continue. Again, as Gary said, when you define the word to drink no wine, that's not excess. That's none.
That's abstain.
Yes, that's abstain from wine. Radical. Yes, because we're not used to hearing the radical. Yeah, it was radical. Don't drink any. Again, he's in, how much change, radical change, is Paul called for in Thessalonica? It's all over the place. Okay. Here's another one.
Everywhere, not just Thessalonica.
Go to 1 Peter, back to 1 Peter. 1 Peter 3. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, the word here is not the same. But it's actually, it's relevant. So we'll just stop with it's relevant. 1 Peter 4:3, the time already past is sufficient for you to have carried out the desire of the Gentiles, having pursued a course of sensuality, lusts, and drunkenness. This is the word we're talking about right here, drunkenness. By the way, when you read the word drunkenness in the Bible, what do you automatically think? What is that connoting?
They are under the influence of a beverage.
To what degree?
Excess.
Very much. Over excess.
With the result that
There's no self-control.
they have no self-control.
Right.
Perfect. That's not what the word always means. The word, at its root, simply means excess. Can you have too much water?
Yes.
Marcy had it the other day. When she got sick, that's what she was convinced she had the other day. She drank way too much water, and she was just done. She was in pain. She had too much water. Was she drunk? Yes. Was she drunk? No. Okay. So when you come to these words, you have to get out of the context. You can't put something in there that's not there. But let's assume that this means that they are totally lambasted and they have lost self-control. Okay, I'm with that. I think that's what it means. Yeah, okay. Drunkenness. Don't have any more drunkenness. Now watch what he says. You've probably been reading it already. It should not be inferred here from the English excess of wine, which is the King James, maybe the New King James, I don't know, that wine is improper only when used to excess, or that moderate use of wine is proper. Whatever may be true on that point, nothing can be determined in regard to it from the use of this word. Don't get drunk, okay, so I can have moderate usage. Not from this word. See, just because it prohibits absolute inebriation does not necessarily mean that you may drink to to moderation. And again, we have our word. I think I run it up here somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't. If you have your hand to raise it. Because we'll go through this. But it was Ethan.
He said, you might be getting to this.
Go ahead.
You made the point for this before. This covers basically everything from social drinking to this verse right here, 1 Peter 4. It goes from completely slobbering drunk, if you want to use that word, all the way to social drinking. Drinking parties. It covers all of it.
Right. Yes. So there's the drunkenness, there's a carousing, which I think is used 5 times, I forget. But every time it's used, it's in accordance with drunkenness. Whatever kind of drunkenness that is. And obviously, sometimes the word is definitely referring to loss of control. So, and then there's the drinking party, which is just what we might call social drinking, or what I have become, pleasure drinking. I'm just drinking this for pleasure, because pleasure has more to do with purpose. Right? Purpose. Why are you drinking this? Simply for pleasure. Okay. So this guy, yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you go back 2?
What?
Back 2 slides.
2 slides. 1.
Yeah. So just for clarification, you say the metaphor part of hogwash is the reason that is hogwash because of the indication of the Thessalonians part, or you think because of it doesn't make sense for Paul to, and maybe not so much here, but sort of rag on something that someone doesn't have a problem with?
His reason. I'm saying his reason is hogwash.
The indication part.
Yes.
Because there's sort of 2 parts to that.
Oh, right. Okay.
There's no indication that they do this, which there's no indication either way. So I can definitely see that being unreasonable. But thus in need of exhortation, that kind of thing. Obviously, we still talk about something, but if you have absolutely no inclination to gambling, I'm not going to pound you over the head with, Lee, don't gamble. Don't every time I see you. Or am I nuts and I ought to be pounding you over the head with everything that I know you're not inclined to do anyway?
Maybe not pound, but certainly mention it. We're all going to have the instruction of don't do this. I wasn't even inclined to do that. In fact, Paul will talk about that with covetousness, although knowing the law provokes us to sin. That's Romans, okay? So, but I'm taking this as one reason. You broke it down into 2 parts, but I'm taking it as one reason.
Yeah.
No indication that the Thessalonians were addicted to drunkenness and thus in need of exhortation to sobriety in the literal sense. I take it as one reason and say there's no indication that the Thessalonians were addicted to drunkenness. Well, no, there's not any indication other than maybe this word right here. Or even if it wasn't this word. There's no indication of it. What, do we have to look for indications everywhere? The fact that he's saying it could be the indication. Are we on the same page?
Somewhat. I think I know what your answer to my actual question is.
Okay.
I have a hard time phrasing. I think you would agree with me, but it would probably take me 5 minutes to figure out how to say it well.
Okay. Okay, and it's
I
not.
might ask you later.
Okay, and if we can go on, then we will. Okay, again, luoneida, a figurative extension of the meaning to be sober. Figurative, really, where's your proof? And I read it all, and there is no proof. Okay, now I'm not quoting the entire thing up here for you right now. You go look at it. There's no proof. He just throws it out there. They all just throw it out there. Oh, we'll see it again. In the sense of not being drunk, probably not occurring in the New Testament. So it's probably, but it could. And in fact, the root of the word is complete abstinence. To behave with restraint and moderation. Well, of course, if you're going to have complete abstinence, you're going to be in restraint and moderation. And don't forget that, to be self-controlled. Yes, whether or not you have moderation or none, you are still exercising self-control. So sometimes the word there will be a footnote, self-control. Yes. But still, the root of the word is absolute abstinence. Thank you. To be restrained, moderate in one's behavior, to be sober, you must keep yourself in all circumstances. Control yourself in all circumstances. 2 Timothy 2:4-5. Those who are drunk get drunk at night. We belong to the day we should be sober. 1 Thessalonians 4:8. Now he's going to stop here, and he's going to stop talking about it figuratively, and now he's going to go to talk about how it can be used literally. It is possible that in 1 Thessalonians 5:8, sober means lack of drunkenness. It's possible. Well, what's your evidence that it's not? He doesn't have any evidence that it's not. But most scholars interpret the sober in the New Testament as applying to a broader range of soberness or sobriety, namely restraint or moderation, which avoids excess and passion, rashness, and confusion. By the way, he's still saying it's literal down here, but he won't admit that it means absolute abstinence. What's your proof? He doesn't have it.
But he throws the word excess in there, right?
Yeah, again, they throw the word excess in there.
Again. I don't understand where he get the figurative thing in the beginning either. Where does he get that?
Because it's couched in other terms. Be awake. Be Gregory. Be awake.
Watchful, serious.
Right.
Those type of,
Right. But drunkenness, those who get drunk at night. Nobody, and I looked it up. Nobody I can find takes drunkenness figurative.
Right.
He says, they get drunk, we stay sober.
You're supposed to stay alert in a way. I mean, common sense is really good to use here. I mean, because if you're supposed to stay awake, if you're drunk, you can't stay awake. You can't be alert. You're not alert when you're drunk.
Yes, but everybody understands you can't be alert when you're drunk.
Right.
That's not the problem. The problem is, he says, avoid it at all costs, all of it. In Hellenistic Greek, the words can be used literally of a state of abstinence from wine. Golden Brown. But also figuratively. This is Hellenistic Greek. This is not the New Testament. This is secular external sources. Indicating complete clarity of mind and its resulting good judgment. For new writers, though, the New Testament writers, the literal is often implied. See? And by the way, this word is only used 6 times, or 8 times, whatever the number. Often, the figurative sense is also prominent. Okay, it is, but tell me where. Hastings, on the English word sober. Both sober and temperate are used in the Authorized Version in the narrower sense of not drunk, not drunken, and in the wider meaning of moderate and reasonable. Regarding the Greek word sober, which is the one we're talking about, the word we've been looking at, in every case, the Greek word has the wider meaning of moderate. But he's taking it literal. I just want you to understand that. He's taking it literal. But then he jumps to using a different word. He doesn't say excess. Avoid excess. He uses the positive, be moderate.
Moderate. So he's saying a little.
So it's literal, but it's moderate. Where's the proof? The word means stay away from this stuff. Again, to drink no wine. I think I have one. No, I don't have one more. Okay. Now, about drinking. I'm not done here. I know that somebody's probably going to have a question or a direct comment to me. I will say this. This is my approach to drinking. Number one, I used to drink all the time. So it's not like I'm up here from my infancy railing against it, okay? Number one. Number two, I used to argue, when I became a Christian, I thought it was allowable, permissible by God to even have one drink for a pleasure drink. That's why I call it pleasure. I thought it was permissible. But I didn't because I didn't need to. And I wanted to set an example. And I would argue up and down. And then I came to realize my arguments are not sound. And so we said the other day in Bible class, the one who asserts must prove. I may take this drink, prove it. And I have not found an argument that supports that. Maybe you have, let me know. Even if you have, then we have some weird things going on here, because here he's saying, don't do it. Now, again, you don't hear that much out there. It's extremely radical. Anybody have a comment or a question? John, first.
In this little thing, the little pop-up in front, and previously you have been referring to the root of the word means complete abstinence, the root of the word,
Well, that is the word. Sorry, I don't mean the root. That word means, go ahead.
Okay, that was basically my question.
Oh, no, that word. Yeah, I should have been saying the idea of the word.
Okay.
Now, for example,
My question was basically, words change. Any language where it's actually used, words change. So if that was, usage originally radical, he says, if it meant that and then changed, would your point have just been based on we can't know, so not from faith?
except for they are saying it is, yes, I understand, but these two are saying, and others that we've read through here are saying, no, it still had that very meaning in the first century.
Okay.
So original might actually mean how I was just using the root. Okay? He might not be talking about time here. He might be talking about the root idea of this word is complete abstinence. I think he's talking about time. I'd have to go back and look that up. But even if he is talking about time, 500 years ago it meant complete abstinence. Well, these guys and a whole slew of others, well, not a whole slew, but some others that we read are saying, no, it still has that meaning contemporary with the first century. I've answered that twice. John.
Yeah, maybe a couple things, maybe just one.
Okay.
In criticizing the arguments that you have in the last 2 or 3 slides, or
Excellent.
whatever it is, okay, you seem to be saying that the only way that you can use this word is in terms of any use whatsoever of an intoxicating beverage. Okay?
Okay.
So are you then also saying that these verses that include this word cannot be used anywhere else? In terms of any other meaning, that they might have a figurative meaning as well? Or in criticizing their arguments and saying that in jumping to, like this first line from Morris, can be used to condemn all kinds of excess, that in jumping there, they're opening the door for a little bit of use of alcohol. And I'm not sure where it is that you are.
Where I stand. What I'm
I
saying.
know you're not supposed to drink, I get that, okay? But in terms of how this verse can be used, can I use this verse to, in a figurative sense also, or am I limited to basically wine? I mean, those were the Greek definitions there. Avoid wine, no wine.
Oh, no, sobriety. They'd sit around and do the equivalent of what we would call marijuana. But they would find this bush, and I can't figure out what this bush is, but it's not marijuana because, well, I read it's not marijuana. So it might have been marijuana. They'd throw it in the fire and they'd all sit around and get high. And this is what they did. They got the opposite. They got drunk. Okay, let me show you a word real quick. We'll see this word later. So in 2 Timothy, verse 26. 2 Timothy 2:26. Here the word is definitely used figuratively. They may come to their senses, okay? That is this word with a preposition before it. This is where I would say this is the root meaning of this, because it's actually technically a different word but this is the root. It's our word with a preposition here in front of it. And it means to come out of a state of stupor, somebody said. So it would apply to anything that puts you into a stupor. So not just wine, anything that puts you into a stupor. Did I make sense?
That does make sense. I'm not exactly certain of how you apply it to the other, I guess. Maybe I am.
I'm saying we don't have evidence of it. I have not presented evidence that this word is used of that marijuana thing. But I could, if you want me to, next week.
Well, I don't know that we need to go there.
Okay.
My question kind of remains, is the problem with their argument that they are opening the door to a little bit of wine because of the way they've constructed their arguments, or because they've just gone and said that there's also a figurative application here of things that could go beyond intoxicating substances?
Okay, there's two. Okay, so again, there's the figurative and then there's the amount. There's whether or not it's figurative or metaphorical, and then there's amount. Those two are two separate things, actually. Okay.
Okay, but we've got the literal thing figured out.
Okay.
And now the question is, are we limited to the figurative, or the literal, or can we also make a figurative argument based on how that is constructed, being sober-minded?
Sure.
Okay, isn't that what they're doing there? This can be used to condemn all kinds of excess.
But okay, so this is, yes, it's oh, you mean, are you emphasizing on the kinds? Is that what you're
Well,
focusing on?
I'm just saying that he's moving beyond just intoxicating substances and saying this can also be used to condemn all kinds, all sorts of excess.
Okay, I had not considered that. Great, but he should have said not excess, but use of. For example, turn to Proverbs 20. Verse 1. Wine is a mocker. Proverbs 21. Wine is a mocker. Strong drink is a brawler. Whoever is... Somebody out of some other version than the New American Standard, please read this. Led. Anybody have the word errs? The word is goes near it. Anybody who goes near it is not wise. The New American Standard has intoxicated by it, which totally throws you off. You have no idea what this means. No, wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler. Whoever goes near it is not wise. So, he should have made the argument, to be more accurate, it can be used to condemn anybody who goes near wine. If we can make an application to beyond just wine, yes. Because this word is also used in other places externally of the Bible that I know of, maybe internally, although I don't think so, of, for example, that marijuana stuff. Okay? So that would be another kind. And again, the point would be, it can be used to condemn going near marijuana.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we are not constrained in looking at this to just the literal interpretation of what sober means. If sober means wine, stay away from wine, stay away from wine, stay away from wine.
No, sober means, okay, for clarity, it would be more stay away from.
Abstain from.
Abstain from. Abstain from what? Whatever.
In the context of 1 Thessalonians, he's talking about drunkenness. Right?
Yes, but he's not, go ahead.
Right, I don't understand now.
So, okay, if that is the case, then it doesn't seem to me like these are such terrible arguments that these guys are making. Because they're saying this applies to more than just alcohol, it applies to anything that...
I'm picking on that word. I agree with you in all kinds. I agree with you in all kinds. which is where you're camping right now. As far as excess, that word is wrong. It can, well, I'm sorry, it can be used, all right, it can be used to condemn excess. That's true. That is true. But it can also be used, and actually better worded, is it can be used to condemn going around it. So it can be used to condemn excess. But it can also, we can also go a whole lot further than just excess. It limits it to don't go around it.
Flash your thing up there that shows the
Definitions?
the definitions.
Oh
There
dear.
they are. Drink no wine. Abstain from
Oh,
wine.
sorry. Yeah, same thing.
Okay. Completely unaffected by wine. Vines broadens it because it uses intoxicants.
Yes.
So all of a sudden marijuana is
Right.
drug in there, and
Right.
drugs, everything
Right.
else. Okay. I'm going to try to rephrase my question here. Do you think that it's valid for a person to go into one of these verses that you've been covering and try to convince somebody to stay away from these other intoxicating things and hard drugs
Right here.
and
Yes.
and just a behavior that doesn't involve intoxicants but makes you stupid? I like television, right? Can you be sober-minded
Yeah, like
if you're
Jonathan
watching
was
trash
saying.
on TV all the time? Is that a valid extension of this? It's not the first place I would go with it.
Yeah, okay, so I'll answer that. Yes, it's not the first place I would go to say don't watch stupid movies.
Okay.
But could you? You're watching too many stupid movies and listening to too much talk radio. I'm drunk on talk radio. Yes. Yes. Anything that,
Will keep you from thinking straight.
Yeah. That's what our goal is.
yeah, although what I'm thinking about right now is there's a chemical alteration by, marijuana. Everything that I have seen this word applied to, literally, is a chemically alterized. What am I saying? Alters.
Altering.
Yes, thank you. Now, the question then becomes, can you figuratively apply it? Because television doesn't, although you might be able to argue that it does chemically alter your brain. Let's say it doesn't. Yes, you could apply this to other things that don't make you sober.
We know somebody whose son played a new video game for so long he went into a grand mal seizure.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Yeah, the iPhones and what it's doing to kids, my wife pays attention to this. It changes them. They become addicted to it. Their minds change. So I'm down with, yes, too much television. I need to be careful. I want to say yes, you could apply this word to that. I want to say it relatively confidently, but I need to do some more research on it and think about it more. Anyway, I don't think you're done.
Well, because I'm still in trying to get to this interim place here, and I don't want to take the whole class on this, but in trying to figure out this interim place about how you think that word means, what I'm trying to figure out is these guys that have made that extension in here with the things that they are saying, I'm not necessarily certain that I agree that they're making such bad arguments, because it just seems like, we may not be comfortable with every bit of their language, but is it because they are using it to allow a moderate use of alcohol, or because they are making the extension at all?
Because they're using it to allow a moderate use of alcohol.
Okay, that answered my question.
That's my understanding of Mike Morris, that's my understanding of his.
Right. That's my problem with that argument.
Okay. Sorry, it took me 10 minutes.
No, it's great. Really, this is, we got to come back and forth, and Lee doesn't have everything right, and John does, and so we listen. Okay. And he's teaching Timothy, so there you go. We'll be all set. I don't mean to make light of it.
Right. More about alcohol question sort of thing. As when we get into Timothy, I'm sure we'll be discussing this again, but he tells Timothy to take a little wine for the stomach's sake. So is medicinal use of, if for some reason, if for some strange reason your doctor tells you you should drink a little bit of wine to settle your stomach or something, is that allowed? Because the inspired apostle told him to do it. I'm just asking for that reason alone.
You've answered your own question. We have an apostle saying, do it.
Okay.
So purpose matters.
Right.
Socially, the Lord's Supper, I think you can make a pretty strong argument that it wasn't alcoholic. But again, every time I go over there to Europe, guess what I'm partaking of? Because they don't see, this is radical, right? It's radical now for us. But so I'm pretty certain that it wasn't alcoholic fermented juice, wine, that they were partaking of the Lord's Supper. But I'm not going to jump up and down on my Harvey horse. And I'm going to go over there, and I'm not going to say a word until somebody finally asks me. Again, the purpose is totally different. The purpose is the Lord's Supper. This is, you know. Anyway, I made my point. Go ahead.
And just because you brought this part of it up, you want to tell everybody here about meeting with Mary and Joseph in Hungary?
I forget what happened. You
Well,
tell me.
just that they use real wine.
Yeah.
And Marcy.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, but go ahead and I'll finish it.
Oh, no, you go.
Well, we went with Mary and Joseph over there, and they use real wine. And so Marcy, whenever Leah warned me, whenever Marcy drinks it, she kind of coughs a little bit, fights back this cough because she's so unused to any kind of an alcohol. But they don't want to change because they think that that's what's necessary every day. And so they did this, and I was ready for it. And I sat there for 10 minutes, probably just trying to choke back this cough because I was so
I
surprised.
don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that.
He didn't tell me. So here, I mean, we're killing time. When we were in Hungary for 2.5 years, things were not going well. We'll save that for another day. Except when I came to them and said, we have decided to move back to the United States, they said, good, because we think you are trying to control the church. I said, oh dear. Please give me your evidence. The only evidence they gave me is Marcy coughs when we partake of the Lord's Supper. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. That's why we came here in 2010. But so, I mean, that's right. So we go there, we do it, and she coughs. And John does too.
I had to fight it back because I didn't offend him or anything else.
Right. Yeah. No, I never knew that.
Burn it.
Okay, so there's George, you want to come out and participate in that?
I'm there, sort of.
We should stop there, and we will pick up in verse 12 2 weeks from now. Verse 12, 2 weeks from now. Thank you for your participation, and as we pursue the truth, if I've said something mistaken, please come to me and throw me a Bible.